Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Coming up on today's show, one Brave that is just a cool freaking story.
And I know that everyone has an opinion about everything, but if Jarvis and I want to call out an opinion about a 26th ranking, we can and we will.
And last but not least, and for the culture, I'll give you one good guess as to who was voted the number one rap group of all time.
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
I want to start by saying thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. Remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast, or wherever you download your podcast. Make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. Really appreciate that from you in advance. ATL Day Ones is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Coming up in about 5 minutes. What should the doggone Hawks do with that $25 million exception? We'll discuss all of that. But first, we got to jump into the Atlanta Braves. 3 all-star starters were voted in, T. We know about Ronald Acuna and what he was able to do. He, the leading vote getter, automatically in, and he didn't have to go through no little process. Like, yep, nephew's in. No problem right there. Next, Sean Murphy, T. Oh, my gosh. Like, Sean Murphy is just – Alex Anthopoulos was traded for him. He was told to us to be a defensive catcher, and he has been all that plus more at the plate as well. Yeah. And I think that people are making comparisons to him to that JT Realmuto, as far as being one of those two-way guys and being able to be productive on both ends. But I think he's kind of surpassed him at this point. But yeah, he got voted in. And last but not least, the guy that I really feel like that is just an amazing story. It's really, really cool. Orlando Arcia gets voted in. And also, let's give a quick shout out to Braves fans as well for, pushing the narrative and pushing him in to get into that bad boy as far as being part of the voting process. So I think Orlando Arcia is just, and when you think about what makes it so cool is the fact that he was a guy that I wasn't even clamoring for. I was just like, you know what? Throw him by the wayside. He can't replace Dansby Swanson. So let's bring in the fresh blood in Vaughn Grissom, and let's see what he can do, T. Like this new shiny toy, because that's what we were used to, right? Because yes. Michael Harris was brought up, last year, a couple months ago around this time. He came in and did his thing. So, hey, why not Vaughn Grissom come in and do the same thing at a different position? But Orlando Arcia said no, and Alex Anthopoulos said, this is our guy.
Yeah, and there was even a little bit of a look at a shiny toy in the space of Braden Shoemake, right?
Right.
Yeah, and so the debate was, will Vaughn Grissom or Braden Shoemake be the starter on opening day? That was the debate. It right. was never like Orlando Arcia was the biggest afterthought for every single one of us. But yes. And then when he got the job, everybody kind of was like, okay, we don't quite get it. But then we thought, okay, defensively, he makes sense. But that's right. all we said. Defensively, he makes sense. And so when I think about his most important role, it is defense. Like I still will admit that, because there was a beautiful 4-6-1 play a couple of days ago that I know I've replayed over at 92.9 The Game multiple times, right? So yeah, right. That defense is on point. But I love what Austin Riley said about Orlando Arcia recently, and that was he is the consummate professional. He works so hard, and I love him because he's such a great teammate. Yeah. And one of the reasons that we all watch the Braves with joy is not just because they're winning, but how they're winning. They're winning as a unit. That's why you see so many of them, and I know we'll talk about it in a second, but that's why you see so that's why you see so many of them. 3 starters, only one team, the Rangers have more, and that's 4. Dodgers had 3, so tied up. And then they've got some more that could be called in as reserves. We'll know Sunday, right? Right. All of those things happen because everybody plays their part at the highest level. And so that goes to what you said about Sean Murphy. A nice surprise at the plate. Orlando Arcia, nice surprise at the plate as well, averaging 303, 26 RBI, 6 home runs. And when you combine his on-base percentage, 79, or 794, if you will. So when you combine that with on base and slugging percentage, right?
OPS,
so
yeah.
when you look at that number, when you look at those numbers combined, once again, it was the right call. It was really the right call.
Yeah, and once again, we're giving Double A his credit because, like, one thing about this show, T, we don't mind giving people what credit's due, and I think that Double A made a decision and even gave him a nice little extension, which is super cheap right now. Looking at it, like this dude, oh my gosh, yeah. So shout out to all those starters, getting it in and being able to be at a space where they are right there in the All-Star game, out there in Seattle, and hey, they're gonna be able to have a little fun and have a camaraderie. Like I said, hopefully their teammates can join them. We will find out reserves on Sunday. So, prayers up for Mr. Matt Olson, Michael Harris, Isaiah Albies, all those people,
And Austin Riley, yep.
And Austin Riley, yes. So, yes, let's get all of those guys in there real quick, T. The Braves are getting ready to take on the Miami Marlins tonight. Is this one of the most important series for this season for the Braves?
Because you definitely want to get as much space between the second place team in the NL East as possible. But interestingly enough, I think that it has a number of layers, but for the sake of time, one layer is Michael Soroka. He'll get the start. They just announced that about an hour or so ago. And so that makes it important because it's important for us to see he hasn't pitched in Truist Park since August 3rd of 2020. So is he really back? This will be the first, hopefully, of many times that he confirms, he's good to go after they sent him down to AAA. I think that is what makes it important, especially because the word is that he'll be facing off against Brian Honig, and they're going to throw a bullpen game from the Marlins. So I feel like advantage Braves. Also, Braves have gone 6-1 against the Marlins, and it's important to continue to show that kind of dominance and just let the entire league know that, hey, we're the best team. Yeah, we see you Rays, but we're the best team in Major League Baseball. And then I think from a historical perspective, they'll be able to tie what they did last year in the month of June, winning 21 games. That'll be amazing because, like we said yesterday, we're calling them the best Braves ever team as far as what we can see today. And to get 21 wins in the month of June certainly would back that up.
No doubt about it. And for me, I'll be real quick and brief with it. It's not that important, be honest with you. It's more important for the Miami Marlins because they're the ones that are 6 games back. And if, you come out of a series not getting a win and the Braves continue to dominate the Marlins like they have in the past, then you almost coming up on the All-Star break and you're almost double digits behind. So, yeah, I think the Miami Marlins need to, they are the ones that need to come in because, hey, the Braves are the rabbit, and they chasing, and the Miami Marlins are chasing. So that's kind of where I am with it. Now, speaking of another Atlanta team, we talked about the Braves, but I think the Hawks are somebody that we need to keep an eye on because at 6:00 tonight, T, it's going down. Free agency, trades, all that stuff. With all the rumors that we've been hearing and everything, and we know that the Hawks have already traded John Collins to the Utah Jazz, so that they picked up a $25 million trade exception. Do you feel like the Hawks will use that bad boy to bring in some help for John Collins' replacement?
We shall see. We shall see. I hope they do. I really, and I had to say it that way because it's like none of us, and we have people that we talk to.
60% of the doggone starting lineup would be traded by now.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I feel you. I understand why you say that. Like
yes,
that.
And everybody that we talk to, including our guy who does Locked On Hawks, Brad Rowland, everybody's kind of looking like, are they going to do anything? We hope that they do something, but are they going to do anything? And if they do, where would they go? Maybe you can try to snag a Kyle Kuzma because at least he's trying to get off of a team that's trying to dump. They're still in fire sale mode. So, you might try to go after him, but you can't go after Cam Johnson because he's restricted. So it might be a little, well, I can't say you can't, but it'd be darn difficult. And then when you look at many of the other top 10s, several of them are restricted. I think like a third of them are restricted, except maybe Miles Bridges. But I don't think they're going to give up. I don't think the Hornets are going to give him up. And I think even of those top 10 that are restricted, Jarvis, I only see Kyle Kuzma as one who potentially numbers wise with salaries could make sense at the power forward position, because I know we talked about small forward yesterday, but in addition to numbers, they're the only team on that list in a fire sale. The other top 10 are contenders, to be honest, when you look at some of the power rankings of the power forwards in the league.
Yeah, that's kind of, for me, as we've gone through this all season, like you said, at the end of the season, if you were saying that Clint Capella or DeAndre Hunter or one or both of those guys will still be on this roster at this point of the season, I was just like, I'm like, I don't know if I believe you. But now I'm kind of leaning towards, okay, probably going to get some in-house replacements, because that's what I'm leaning towards as far as with that power forward spot, because you may see Sadiq Bey may step into that role because we know they want to extend him, right? So why wouldn't he be in that starting role? Because I feel like he can be a viable starter, a cheaper version of, what, John Collins was able to bring to the table. So that's kind of where I am with the Atlanta Hawks. So
and early enough in his career that you can teach him some of the things that never kind of caught on with JC, like giving him a perimeter shot. There it is. So, I agree with you on that one. That one might be, oddly enough, the one that gets filled in-house. And then we may be having a conversation about the 3 of the 5. Yeah,
no doubt. And because Clint is a little expensive at this point in his career, and more than likely, he's a guy that, championship contenders would be lusting over at this point. So, and I'm pretty sure that the Hawks are going to test those waters as well, because we know that they were in talks with the Mavericks leading up to the draft. So I think there's going to be some conversations about him going forward, but we'll definitely keep an eye on that as we move forward. Now, speaking of moving forward, how about this? The Falcons moved forward, said they got some money. They had some conversations, and they spent some money about all this stuff, and they trying to compete and get into the playoffs. But will they make it, and should they make it? We'll talk about that next. But first, I have to let you guys know that this episode of ATL Day Ones is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. It is the #1 sportsbook in America, and guess what? Baseball season is going down. We've talked about the Braves and how everything, getting ready to head to the All-Star break. So I need you to get your money right. Get your money right. So once the All-Star break is over with, you can start winning some money on FanDuel, because, the Braves are going to be easy money going for it. Ronald Acuna, Matt Olson, all those guys. Those guys hit bombs all day. So I need you to go over there and check them out. And guess what? Once you go over there, and if you're a new customer, you can take advantage of the no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. All you have to do is go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel.com/lockedon is the #1 source right there. It's safe, secure, super easy to use. You don't have to worry about anybody stealing your information. They got it right there. And guess what? It's not like you're dealing with a human. And if you win, you get your money. You get your money right then and there. So you don't have to wait. You don't have to make no phone call. You don't have to text. You don't have to bother nobody. Say, hey, give me my money. Where my money at? They can do that right there for you. So FanDuel is the #1 sportsbook in America. It is the official partner of Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission.
Here, for those of us who've had an opportunity to see them during voluntary OTAs, we see a difference in them, right? So we could tell you, like, if you want to bet 11-7, or you want to bet, 10-8, 10-7 and 11-6, you could do that, because there are viable ways for the Falcons to get there, which probably, Jarvis, puts them in contention to be in the playoffs, either as a wild card, but I really do think their best path is to win the NFC South. However, there are still pundits that don't exactly agree with that. So there was an article that came out on NFL.com that talked about those teams that are most likely to end a long playoff drought in 2023. Now, I'll give you the #1 ranking, and then we'll kind of go down from there. So #1 would be the New York Jets, and I'm not going to, of course, go through all 26. #2, Detroit Lions. #3, Atlanta Falcons. So the rationale from this gentleman is that he likes the feel of Arthur Smith's team because of, Arthur Smith, offensive guru, workaholic. Some people dwell on the fact that they were 7-10, but hey, we know how they got to 7-10. But he actually starts talking, Jarvis, like we spoke even yesterday.
Yeah.
He starts looking at why they could be the #3 team who could make it back to the playoffs. because of the Bijan Robinson pick, because of Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Cordero Patterson. And then on the flip side, 4 of the veterans that they picked up in free agency: Calais Campbell, David Onyemata, Caden Ellis, and Jesse Bates. So you take those 4 on offense, right? And then you take those 4 on defense. And he says he thinks that this team, other than the Detroit Lions and the Jets, are arguably one of the teams that, hey, he thinks they can win 10 games. He thinks they can make the playoffs. Now, he thinks wild card, but what say you on all of it?
I'm leaning towards the division as well. And here's my main reason why is because I do trust Arthur Smith, because what he's been able to do to be able to win 7 games in back-to-back years in the first 2 seasons as the head coach of this team is, I feel like it's been yeoman's work. Like, he's been doing the Lord's work to be able to get squeezed 7 games out of these 2 rosters, because we know what they've been in from a salary cap standpoint.
Yeah.
They had to basically kind of suffer through it, you know what I'm saying, and say, hey, you know, suck it up, Buttercup, with all this dead money, with Julio Jones contract, Matt Ryan, and all that stuff. They had to go through some tough times. So now that they have some money, they have more money to bring in better talent. And Arthur Smith with better talent in year 3, I feel like can be a competitor or be able to compete for the NFC South division, because that's at the end of the day, that's what you shoot for, because you never know how this thing can go when you're talking about wild cards. And I never want the Falcons to be the team to be in those conversations, because I don't want to do math equations towards the end of the year about how they're gonna get into the playoffs. I was like, okay, they got the number one in the division. Cool, let's roll with that. And I feel like the way these teams are constructed in this division, with the uncertainty at every quarterback position, I throw Desmond Ridder in there, but like I said, I have a little bit more confidence than the national people do, like we talked about yesterday. But I'm in a space where I trust Arthur Smith with this offense and all of the young offensive weapons that they have. And I think people need to pay attention to what I just said. All of the young offensive weapons, all of the guys they have on rookie contracts, on the offensive side of the football. So that's why they were able to go out and pay $15, $16 million to a safety. So those are some of the things you have to kind of pay attention to. And that's kind of where I am as far as this team getting into the playoffs via the NFC South division title.
Yeah, that was probably the only thing I disagreed with him on, because like I said, I could see 10-7 just as easily as I see 11-6. But he was thinking wild card. And when you kind of look at the board of some of those teams that are probably going to be right there in the mix, like the Cowboys, because the Eagles to me are still in position to win the NFC East. But you got the Cowboys on their heels, you got the Giants on their heels. So you don't want to have to be, to your point, in week 18, sitting on the edge of your seat, waiting for somebody to lose, somebody to win, somebody to do this, that, and the third, just so you can get into the playoffs. No, you play your way into the playoffs. And I think they do have the guns to do it. And another one, I know you don't really talk about O-linemen very often because there's no stat that you can kind of connect to them. But like I said, he's the important piece, because as he goes and that entire line, especially that left side goes, that's what's really going to take the Falcons offense to the next level, because they've got all the run protection that they could ever want.
Right.
But if they can get that pass protection with all those weapons that you and I just mentioned, that's what to me is going to put them ahead of the game in the NFC South versus, say, those other teams that don't necessarily, like you said, they may have unproven quarterbacks just like the Falcons do, but they have, I feel, way more other positions where they're unproven talents there that won't be able to compete with the likes of who the Falcons have gotten in the offseason in free agency. Now, there was another article that I thought was interesting that went in the opposite direction, the direction that we're becoming increasingly familiar with here. So,
par for the course.
Par for the course. So it wasn't anything that you and I were maybe shocked about. I think the bigger thing, Jarvis, for me was the shock about how low the position was. So this was an article on ESPN Plus that ranked NFL rosters for the 2023 season and kind of went through strengths and weaknesses, right? So, of course, the usual suspects, you'd expect the Chiefs to be 1. You'd expect the Eagles to be 2, and then Buffalo Bills 3, and they kind of go down the list. All of those you expect to be at the top of the fray.
Fair, yeah.
Right, exactly. That is fair based on playoffs last year and what they've done in free agency themselves. But here's where I'm troubled and confused, I should say. because we do still try to be objective.
Of course.
The Jets at 10. Let's start there. I'm going to give you some more. Keep laughing because keep laughing. Seahawks at 12.
Okay. All right.
Which was another shocker for me. I'll give you one more. And we'll go with our final, and I know this one is going to bite your apple. The Saints at 19. But the Falcons at 26? I'm just trying to understand if you're talking about strengths and weaknesses. Tell me exactly in a sensical way how you got to 26, because Jarvis, I read and reread this and I'm like, okay, if the weakest unit is the quarterback, if that's all you got, you got to miss me with 26.
Yeah, like, so that's my thing, because like, you know, looking up and down this thing, like, because look at a couple of teams that are the few teams that are in front of the Falcons. The Packers at 23. Commanders, who haven't won anything in forever. It's been forever since they won anything. Sam Howell, who's a 5th round pick, because we know Desmond Ridder catches a lot of flack. Oh, he's a 3rd round pick. So hey, true enough. If the talent level, you know, he was drafted where he was supposed to be, because hey, that's where he was drafted. You know what I mean? So people are kind of looking at him just saying, okay, it's a 3rd round pick. There's no way he can be able to be viable enough to be able to get the Falcons to where they need to be. But Sam Howell's a 5th round pick. Right. And he wasn't even that good in college. Like, right. So,
and the Saints ahead of him too. And that's my home team. Not that I root for them. I'm a Steelers fan. You better understand. But I don't see anything in their roster as an example, or any moves that they've made in the offseason or even in the draft that would say that they would be in a stronger position, especially because, wait, get this, Jarvis. They say the weakest unit is on the defensive side because defensive tackle David Onyemata, Shai Tuttle, and Kentavious Street are gone. Guess where Onyemata landed?
Right.
That math ain't mathing, Jarvis.
Come on, make it make sense.
Make it make sense, because it does not.
Yeah, this is what I like. I love list season, right? Because, you know, it gives us something
it's funny,
little
right?
pontificate on. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's fun and it's funny.
It's funny. It's fun and it's funny. That is the perfect way of putting it. So I think when you look at that, though, like the Green Bay Packers, like, they weren't even that good with Aaron Rodgers last year, you know? So how is it that you got Jordan Love, who nobody knows how good he's going to be? Like, anybody who tells you they know for a fact with all their heart that Jordan Love is going to be an amazing replacement for another Hall of Famer, they lying. Like, there's no way you can sit up there and say that, because we haven't seen him play. So, and we actually got a chance to see Desmond Ridder play last year. So my whole thing is like, we got a chance to see a nice little sample size from game 1 to game 4. You saw the progression.
Yes.
And Arthur Smith, like the other article mentioned how they trust Arthur Smith. I trust Arthur Smith. You trust Arthur Smith. If he sit up here and saying, you know what, I saw enough to at least bring this guy in to be my QB1 for at least for 2023.
Yes.
Like, let's go with that. Like, you need to believe him. I believe Arthur Smith when he talks about Desmond Ridder and him being the guy, you know, for this season. So, miss me with all that stuff about the Packers and the Saints and the doggone Washington Commanders, who've been awful for years. Years. Shout out to Daniel Snyder finally getting that amazing going away gift. But like, this is something that I really feel like that this is the part of the list season that I don't like, because it just seems like it's just the national narrative. Really don't know what's going on with the team. You kind of just do headlines and then like, oh yeah, the quarterback ain't good. Okay, let me drop them all the way at the bottom of the league. Because I'll put some money on that the Falcons will not be picking in the top 10 this year. Next year, T. I can put some money on that right now.
And that's an excellent point, because that's essentially what a 26th ranking equates to. That you're basically saying that they're going to pick in the top 10, darn near top 5. And you just can't tell me that this team that picked at number 8 this year is going to be somewhere hovering around there again. I'm just not believing it. And I want to go back real quick to your point about the sample size. People say that 4 games is a small sample size, but that's still about 25% of the season. And he was 2-2, and he lost a close one to New Orleans. right?
Yeah.
And Baltimore, that was kind of a tough go, but his numbers got better.
Right.
Did. And then they beat Arizona, and he had his best game, arguably, against the Bucks.
Yeah.
So my thing is quality and quantity. So yeah, you may not have gotten quantity in him, playing half the season, but you got quality out of those 4 games with quality competition that had quality defenses that they were putting on the field. So that's why we tend to think like, no, there's nothing but upside to what this roster looks like. But everydayers, tell us what you guys think. I mean, do you think that the Falcons are a team that one of the top teams to be in position to end a drought for the playoffs? Let us know. Also, if you guys think that they should be higher, at, or lower than 26 as far as team rankings and how you got better in the offseason and all that good stuff, let us know, because hey, maybe we missed something. You know what to do, because you drop comments in the YouTube section all day, every day. Drop them here as well. We appreciate you guys for that. And of course, we appreciate you for downloading us wherever you download your podcasts.
But this is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, the culture, and sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about, because that's just how we get down on the show. Today is no different. When you think about billboards, you know what I'm saying? Like, people tend to give them all the credit as far as having all of the knowledge necessary to be able to judge, hip-hop groups, artists, and all that stuff. So they got, like you said, it's list season, so they dropped their top rap group of all time, and guess what? They got it right. So I'm gonna get a top 5, and I want to get your thoughts. And I'm gonna go from 5 all the way up to 1. So Run DMC is 5, A Tribe Called Quest at 4, NWA at 3, Wu-Tang Clan at 2, and the number 1 hip hop group of all time goes to, you already know, Outkast. How about that?
Yeah, how about it? I can't argue with that list. I really can't. I can't argue with the order. That this is maybe one of their better lists where they seem to have gotten it right. I don't know who was on the panel this time, but this seems more right than any list that I've seen from Billboard in recent memory. Starting with number 5, it's tell me again, is it Run DMC?
Run DMC 5.
Run DMC. So you think about what they brought to the table. I just literally listened to Walk This Way and It's Tricky a couple days ago, and that was those rock songs being embedded into that. Of course, that's Rick Rubin's influence, but yeah, seeing that they were willing to kind of take that lane, and that just opened up hip hop. It opened up a lane that now seems is commonplace, right? And then number 4, they're my favorite group of all time, Tribe Called Quest, because they just did it very, very differently. They infused jazz, they infused R&B, and they were just so like lyrically gifted, like just not just the delivery, but the content. And they just played off of each other so very well. I mean, the only 2 that I can think of who even played off of each other as good as Q-Tip and Fife might be like a Naughty by Nature, right? But as far as like that word play off of one another, that just was amazing. And like I said, to the jazz and R&B. And then who do they have at 3?
They had NWA.
NWA.
Wu-Tang Clan. And Outkast.
Yes. So NWA, like that's the game changer. They absolutely put the West Coast on the map. I mean, they put it on the map. And the things that they would say were bucking the system a long time ago when it was unpopular and probably could have gotten you in some serious trouble. And they just fought for their right to speak on things. So I appreciate that. And we had never seen that. 9 rappers and everybody is as equally gifted.
Yeah.
I mean, we had never, ever seen that. So coming off of Staten Island with, those guys being able to do what they did and, have the kind of influence that they had, it was just grimy and it was different, but it worked. And all of those personalities were decidedly different, but it worked. And that's what I loved about them, just the eclectic nature. But all that said, never, ever, 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 forever, ever think that there will be a group better than the duo known as Outkast. They changed the game. If I can, I'm gonna just tell it quick. I was literally hanging out with some students that were from Atlanta.
Okay.
And guy wanted us to listen to wanted us to listen to this CD, whatever,
Okay.
and put in the CD. And when I tell you, when I heard Southern Playlist of Cadillac Music, I almost lost my mind. That was the first song for me.
Wow.
That was the first song for me. And I just kept asking,
Absolutely.
who are these people? And we let him play the entirety of the first album.
Yeah.
That is how powerful they were coming out of the gates. And then the longevity. And then now they're excellent at wordplay of just a duo. They do it better than anybody.
Yes.
Excellent at wordplay and being able to weave in two totally different styles. That's why The Love Below and Speaker Box went diamond. Because somehow, some way, it showed perfectly how different they were and how they made it work. So yeah, Jarvis, I would never disagree with them being the top duo of all time.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of times.
Oh, I'm sorry, group.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I definitely know what you mean. But for me, I'm glad that Billboard acknowledged what Outkast has accomplished and what they were able to do. Because a lot of times, with any list and in hip hop, all together, they're always going to be biased towards the New York, right? Just city of New York, because that's the birth, where it came from, blah blah blah, and all that stuff. Yeah, I get it, I understand, whatever. But there is. Atlanta, the city of Atlanta has done some things that is probably never going to be accomplished again.
Yes.
And I think that I know that Atlanta has taken over as the hub for hip hop.
Oh, yes, no question.
It is the hub for hip hop. Like, I don't care what anybody says.
It is.
It is the hub for hip hop. So for them to be able to acknowledge a group and the person that was in that group, Andre 3 Stacks, when he went on that hip hop award show and said the South got something to say, from that point on, they proved it. They proved it.
Yes.
And they continue to prove it. And all the people that have come behind them have proved it. Like, yes, the South got something to say. Y'all better respect us. Right. And shout out to Billboard for making them the number one.
Right. And can I say this? Not, and I'm taking nothing away from Miami and what 2 Live Crew did, because hey, that had its place. Taking nothing away from 8 Ball and MJG, they put Memphis on the map. And my guys in PA,
they were 37th, by the way, which is
that's
kind of low in my eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like what?
Do you not know? But space age pimping ain't for everybody.
No, that's true. That's fair. That's fair.
So I think that when you look at all of those pieces, and then you go, to, like I said, to PA, and it's Bun B and Pimp C, and then you come down to New Orleans, and you know what that is. Yeah, exactly. You think about what Master P did, and of course then Juvenile and just Cash Money.
Yeah.
The reason I made all those points is because those pieces of the South puzzle still were not as influential as Outkast, in that they had something to say we are lyrically, and I'm about lyrics. I don't care about a beat. If the lyrics don't move me, I'm turning it off. No. Outkast was lyrically superior.
Yes.
They could hang with anybody from the East Coast. And that to me is what makes them the best of all time, because you were in a space where it was just some booty shaking music, or it's just some grimy beats.
That was it.
And you have beats from Dungeon Family, but if you never had a beat from the Dungeon Family, your lyrical brilliance would still stand out for me.
Absolutely. And that's it. And that's it. For a Friday, y'all.
Yep, that's it. Right. That's a happy place for you to end, man.
We'll end it right there.
Yes, and we hope to come back on Monday with a good report from the Braves weekend showdown with the Marlins. If anything goes down, and Jarvis and I are quick to jump on a 1-minute diatribe about it. So if the Hogs do something big, you might see us again today, but if not, you'll certainly see us on Monday. And anything else coming your way from Atlanta sports, the scene, we got you.
And last but not least, before we get out here on a good Friday, for the weekend, make sure that you share love, show love, and most importantly, spread love.